Hey everyone, let's open up that first project test again, or open up a new file if you want to. Alright, this should be the layout that you see. I personally don't like this layout, so I'm going to show you how to get your screen to the layout that I prefer. First, we are going to switch to our game tab up here. This is what the player sees when they play this game, because all this game consists of is a main camera and a light, and it just kind of exists in this void here. We aren't going to go over those kind of things right now. We're just going to change our layout, and afterwards I'm going to give you a tour of the layout in your workspace and what everything means. For now, just know that the scene view is where you set up your scene, and the game view is where where you can see what your player would be able to see, whatever your cameras see. Click that tab and drag so that it is under the scene tab. Hover your cursor in the middle until there is a double arrow, and click and drag to adjust. Next, we want our project tab right next to our hierarchy tab. So you're going to want to click and drag this project tab right next to the hierarchy tab. You also want to make sure that you're seeing both at the same time. So click and drag until, yep, right there, until you see it not going past this console tab right here, but not overlapping this hierarchy tab either. We can see our hierarchy and our project tab at the same time. Next, we don't want our console taking up that much space, so we're going to move our console space by clicking the console tab and moving it to the middle. You want to get it so that it's under both of them at the same time. For now, let's just drag it to underneath the project tab because it is giving me issues. So we are going to drag it right here. And then we are going to click and drag our hierarchy right back next to our project space. Now, that made it so that our inspector tab dragged all the way over here, but don't worry, just drag your cursor to this line here and drag it back. And now you can do last minute adjustments, like making sure each space has a good amount of space dedicated to it so that nothing is too small or too big. There you have it. This is how I like to set up my layout. To save your layout, click this drop down menu over here where it says layout. Go over to save layout, and then you can name it whatever you want and press save. And now you'll be able to access that layout whenever you'd like. Your Unity workspace is made out of 6 main parts: your scene view, your game view, your inspector, your scene hierarchy, your project files, and your console. Your scene view is where you actually get to manipulate and view your 3D scene from different perspectives. To move around, click with the middle mouse button and drag your mouse around. To rotate, hold Alt and click and drag with your left mouse button. To zoom in and out, scroll in and out with your middle mouse button. You can also use these little tabs up here to navigate different views. It's got bottom, left, back, right, and then if you click this middle button, it changes your view to be isographic. That's just the big word that means you are seeing everything flat instead of in a perspective mode. Click it again to go back into perspective mode. Now you'll see that there are two objects in our scene. We have a camera. Left click to select that. You'll see that this main camera also got selected when you clicked on it. This over here is our hierarchy area. It shows us the name of our scene, which is sample scene, and the two objects, we call them game objects, that exist in our scene. First we have the main camera, and next we have the directional light. If you notice here to the right, we have an inspector area. The inspector area allows us to see information about the game object selected, and also settings that are relevant to the specific game object. Since I am selecting a directional light, we can see that it has a light component by default. These little sections, well, actually the word for them is components, but without using the word components, these little selections that are bordered off here, I click this arrow and you can see these individual components. They are settings for the game object. So we have a light and a transform. This transform, and we'll talk about that later, describes the exact location and rotation and scale of our object. I can move them with these directional arrows that pop up, and you can see that our numbers to the right under our transform component are changing. You can also edit the position directly by changing the numbers in here. We can select our main camera and see that it includes a camera preview over here to the bottom right of the scene view. And that'll take us to our game window. Down here just shows us what our main camera is seeing or what our player is seeing. No matter what kind of game you're making, you're going to have a camera, and that is what this game window is going to be showing you. Over to the top left, we have our project files. This is where you locate all of the files for the project. So far you can see that we have an assets folder, and inside of it, it has a scenes folder. Inside that scenes folder, it just has our sample scene. There's also a packages folder, but I would not worry about that at the moment. The assets folder is what you are going to be dealing with most often, if not all the time. This is our console area. This is going to be used primarily in programming, but it also helps us see just generally when any errors are occurring in the Unity project. If we have an error, it'll be reported here. And also if we write a message to ourselves in the code to be reported for debugging, this is also where it'll appear. If that doesn't make a lot of sense, that is okay. For somebody who hasn't programmed, that probably wouldn't make a lot of sense right now, but just know that this is our console area and it's good to have it visible so that we know what's going on with our project. Move your cursor over to this empty space in the hierarchy area, right click, go down this menu to 3D object, and then click cube. That is going to make a cube appear in our scene. Double click over here where it says cube. Now that we have a cube on our scene, I can briefly go over the transform tools that Unity provides. Up to the top left, you'll see the first tool is a hand tool. Go ahead and click that with your left click. When you click and drag around your 3D view in the scene window, you move around your camera just like if you were normally just middle clicking with your middle mouse button and clicking and dragging around. That's the way to do it without a middle mouse button. The tool to the right of that, the move tool, is what you probably defaulted on when you opened this up. It brings up directional arrows. These arrows, once you pull them, allow you to drag this cube along the X, Z, and Y axis. I press Ctrl Z to undo that. The next tool is the rotate tool. This allows you to click and drag your cursor on these circles to rotate your object whatever direction you'd like. The scale tool allows you to pull these boxes and scale by whatever side you want, or by pulling and dragging from the middle box, you can scale the entire object. The rect tool, to the right of the scale tool, allows you to scale in a different way. It depends on your perspective. See how I'm viewing it this way, and it shows me the outline of the shape like a diamond. I can pull and scale by each side. But if I hold Alt and I rotate and I look at it from this perspective, you'll see that it shifts, and I can scale it from a different direction, from a different perspective. And it'll just move depending on which side you're looking at. Next is our all-in-one transform tool. It allows us to move, rotate, or scale the selected object all at the same time. To delete that object, go back over to your hierarchy, right-click your cube in the list of game objects, and then press delete. This has been a very basic Unity interface tour. I hope this helped, and have a wonderful day.